Who pays the bill for the shutdown is shaping up to be the next big political battle. State and local leaders make the shutdown decision, but they want Congress to pay the cost for things like massively higher unemployment insurance that's blown a hole in their finances. Pelosi and Schumer say this is their red line for the next big relief bill, the fifth one, by the way. Mitch McConnell is not having any of it, neither is Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who rejected it tonight. Mitch McConnell called the idea a blue state bailout. He suggested that instead states should be able to declare bankruptcy, which Republican Larry Hogan, head of the National Governors Association, called complete nonsense. And Andrew Cuomo, not wanting to be outdone, described as one of the dumbest ideas of all time. So what is really going on here? And most importantly, should President Trump back more money for state and local government? Because in the end, it's his position that's going to be crucial. Inadvertently, it was actually Governor Cuomo who put his finger on it.
Bail out, us, them. No, it's just theater. It's just smoke and mirrors to avoid the American people seeing the reality, which is whose pocket they want to put money in versus whose pocket state and local governments want to fund.
Exactly, Governor. Whose pocket do state and local governments want to fund? All too often, especially in blue states, it's the pockets of the public sector unions who fund and organize their political campaigns. Let's try and make this as clear as we can. 1, it's reasonable for the federal government to help pay for emergency coronavirus costs, but not to plug budget holes that were there before the pandemic. The National Governors Association wants unrestricted funds. That is not okay. 2, Chapter 9 bankruptcy is a tool that some cities have used to keep services going. Mitch McConnell's suggestion, far from hurting local service providers, would actually help them. It would hurt banks and other creditors. It's the opposite of what Larry Hogan and the Democrats said. 3, Democrats are trying to claim that it's actually blue states that bail out red states because they put more money into federal coffers than they take out, while many red states are net recipients. But that's not a bailout. That's called redistribution. I thought Democrats were in favor of it. A bailout means rescuing you from the consequences of your past choices, like piling up debt by giving public sector unions luxury pensions and other retirement benefits that private sector workers could only dream of. Those costs in states like California, Illinois, and New York have been blowing a hole in states' budgets for years. In February, before coronavirus hit, Illinois Governor Pritzker's budget of just over $40 billion had $9 billion just for pensions, nearly a quarter. Giving states unrestricted money now would give them yet another excuse to put off the reforms that are vital. So, yes, help the states pay for shutdown costs, but not if they prolong the shutdown, and only if they first cut the unfair spending that only benefits their donors, the public sector unions. This is just like the state and local tax deduction, which President Trump rightly killed off in his great tax cut and reform. As one leading senator put it, it's irresponsible and reckless to take money from America's taxpayers and use it to save liberal politicians from the consequences of their poor choices. That was Florida Senator Rick Scott writing in the Wall Street Journal this week. Senator Scott joins us live next. Welcome back, everyone. Senator Rick Scott joins me now. Senator, I'm so sorry. I think of you as a governor. And by the way, as far as I'm concerned, that is a compliment. Just want you to be clear about that. In fact, as a former governor, before we get into this question of the blue state bailouts, just give us an update on what's going on in your state. We had some very upbeat comments from Governor DeSantis, your successor. How do you see things right now in Florida?
Well, I can tell you, people are anxious to get back to work. I mean, this weekend, the state's been busy. I live in Naples, Florida, and everybody's outside. People are anxious to get back to work. So Monday, it's going to be exciting to see these restaurants reopen, these businesses reopen. So I think it's going to be fun. Now, the bottom line is, I put out a plan. It depends on, is your family figure out how to stay safe? Do our businesses, do they figure out how to make their customers and their employees safe? And we still have a lot of work to do with regard to testing. That will be done at every level of government.
Yeah, well, just one data point I would highlight from certainly the presentation I saw from Governor DeSantis. It was predicted by the experts that there would be 465,000 hospitalizations in the state of Florida. They then excoriated him for being too casual about all this. The actual number of hospitalizations turned out to be 2,111 as of whenever that presentation was made by the current governor. So, Senator Scott, let's just talk about this question of money which has been asked for in the next relief bill for states. Do you agree with the characterization of this as a blue state bailout? And what would your advice be to President Trump for how to handle this issue in the weeks ahead?
You know, Steve, we got to look at just like we've done with hurricanes. I had 4 major hurricanes as the governor. And basically what they did is they said, we're going to help you, deal with your cost of to clean up, things like that. Well, what we've done in Congress with our states is we're helping them with the cost of coronavirus. Nobody comes back and says, oh, I'm going to take care of all your revenue shortfall. In my hurricanes, I never once saw Governor Cuomo from New York say, you know what, we need to help the Governor Scott down there with his revenue shortfall. Never once did he say that. So this is just a bailout of poorly managed states. And Governor Cuomo and I got elected at the exact same time. He can't balance his budget. He just keeps borrowing money. In contrast, I walked in with a budget deficit. We over $4 billion. We balanced it. We paid off a third of state debt. So why should a Florida taxpayer be bailing out the budget of Governor Cuomo or other governors of these blue states?
Just one detail point I want to end with, but you'll know this better than anyone. If money is sent to a state earmarked by Congress for one purpose, you can only use this for emergency relief. Can't they then take that money and use it for some other purpose? Is it possible to control it properly?
Well, if you look at the way it's supposed to work is historically you got reimbursed. Like with the hurricane, we had to show our costs, then we got reimbursed. What they've done with this, they've sent it first, but it still is going to work the same way. If you didn't have the cost, you will owe that money back. So I am all in for helping states with the cost of the coronavirus, just like we did with the hurricane. But I'm not going to bail out their bad budget decisions. That's the wrong thing to do.
And you'll be fighting alongside Mitch McConnell on that point. How do you see it playing out politically when this fight comes to the Senate?
Look, I think the American public completely agrees with this. I mean, think about it. People have left places like Illinois and New York to come to Florida because they are sick and tired of these governors in these blue states not balancing their budgets. And they said, why would we come to Florida and have to bail out Andrew Cuomo or any other blue state governor? It's not right.
There you go. Very strongly put. Appreciate you being with us tonight, Governor. Sorry, there you are. I did it again. I just love governors, and therefore I'm going to always use that when I think of you.
They're both good jobs.
Thank you for your perspective. And I really recommend your article in the Wall Street Journal. It was really, really great. Thank you for being with us. All the best.